Welcome to Music Fusion Fridays on KBVR. I'm Maya Holmes.
And I'm Brittany Wooten. And we're the Blonde Bombshells, here to give you your weekly music news.
It seems that Portland has yet again been the starting point for another breakout band, and this time it's Ages and Ages. The 7-member group of folksters is releasing a new record, All Right You Restless, on February 15th through Knitting Factory Records. According to Brandon Ellison of Oregon Music News, the band is kicking off a West Coast tour with Typhoon at Sam Bond's Garage in Eugene on January 21st and will return to Portland for their Mississippi Studios record release party on February 11th. In between these dates, the Ages and Ages tour will play down the coast of California. As stated on the Ages and Ages website, their album was recorded in 8 days with producer Kevin Robinson at Amore Phonics. During the recording, the band performed its songs as a full unit and sang together into one shared microphone. The resulting record sounds alternately sharp and warm, with rich percussive elements and layered vocal harmonies. If you just can't wait to get your hands on this fresh new album, All Right You Restless is available for pre-order right now.
The secret that's not quite a secret is finally out. The Thermal's frontman Hutch Harris has a new solo project called Forbidden Friends. According to Michael Mannheimer of Willamette Week, you might have heard a rumor that Harris spent a few weeks in 2010 at Jackpot Studios working on a new act. And the news is official. Forbidden Friends will release their debut single Tiny Hands on the Kill Rock Stars label March 15th. Harris sings and plays guitar, bass, and drums on the tracks, which feature acoustic instruments and mono mixes. A few close friends, including fellow bandmates Kathy Foster and Weston Glass, help out on percussion. While there is no MP3 available right now, we can wait in anticipation for what I'm sure will be something that definitely shouldn't stay a secret.
Anyone a fan of STRFKR? Well, get excited because just 1 week after releasing details on their new album Reptilians, the electro-pop quartet STRFKR is getting ready to embark upon their most expansive tour to date. The group will begin a 2-month tour starting in March that will take them all over the United States and then back to Portland to close their tour in April with shows 3 nights in a row. According to Chris Young of Oregon Music News, STRFKR's Portland appearances will begin Thursday, April 28th at Holocene for those 21 and up, Friday, April 29th at the Doug Fir, also for those 21 years of age and older, and finally finishing their tour with an all-ages show at Mississippi Studios on Saturday, April 30th. Their Portland gigs feature to-be-announced special guests, and tickets are on sale for just $5. For the rest of the tour, Unknown Mortal Orchestra will be joining STRFKR for the West Coast dates and Casio Kids in the South and on most of the East Coast dates. Other bands such as Hooks for Hands will appear along the way for this epic tour. Don't miss STRFKR as they come to rock in a town near you.
The Globe, a new music venue located in Portland, shares Belmont with the Blue Monk. And rather than competing, these venues promise to bring musical vitality to the Strip, positioning the East Side as a music destination. According to Mark Neiman Ross of Oregon Music News, the Globe seats around 60 people, offering table and lounge seating. The venue is open from 5 p.m. until midnight, offering food, a full bar, and music. The big draw at the Globe is the music booking, and you'll find a range of genres. The Portland Groove Collective holds down the Sunday evening spot, and Hank Hirsch hosts a jazz jam on Mondays. The second half of the week tends more towards the rock spectrum with a varied range of bands. In the future, the Globe hopes to offer longer hours and is always available for special events at earlier hours than 5 p.m. So if you're ever in Portland, don't pass up an opportunity to check out this new music scene. Plus, I've heard the caprese salad is excellent.
This Thursday, OSU's LaSalle Stewart Center was host to the sounds of the Califax Reed Quintet, where it played as part of chamber music of Corvallis. The program is now in its 52nd season and is currently managed by program director Chris Rochester, whose job it is to find the musical talent for the show. Rochester found Califax after Corvallis residents asked him to find music with more variety in it than traditional string quartet. This Netherlands band offers just that in their unique bass clarinet and alto saxophone instrumentation, as well as their lineup of mostly French music. The group features Oliver Boak-Horn on oboe, Ivor Barracks on clarinet, Rolf Hakema on saxophone, Jelt Atheist on bass clarinet, and Albin Wesley on bassoon. According to Mike McInally of the Gazette-Times, Califax dates its inception to 1985 when 4 boys in an Amsterdam grammar school's orchestra decided to form a wind quartet, which eventually became a quintet when the clarinet was added to the ensemble. The group's first CD was released in 1992, and Califax has since continued recording over the years. The group's most recent disc was released in January of 2009. And next up for Chamber Music Corvallis is the Aaron String Quartet, which is scheduled to perform on February 9th, so mark your calendars.
Well, we're going to take a quick commercial break.
So stay tuned, we'll be right back.
So you can't save money? That's easy as pie. Brown bag your lunch instead of going out. $6 save times 5 days a week times 10 years is $21,000. That's a lot of lettuce. Small changes today, big bucks tomorrow. Feedthepig.org.
Listen, I know you're upset, but it was just one date. And dating's like the stock market. There's ups and downs and ups and so always buy low.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who would love to put up with you.
It has recently been announced that New York Philharmonic music director Alan Gilbert will be taking over the position of Director of Conducting and Orchestral Studies at Juilliard. According to James Bash of Oregon Music News, starting this September, Gilbert will be replacing the current director, James DePriest, and will take charge of teaching the conservatory's handful of conducting students and oversee its orchestras, as well as guiding decisions on guest conductors, repertory, and concerts. DePriest, who was the music director of the Oregon Symphony from 1980 to 2003, will step aside but continue to work at Juilliard's principal conductor and director emeritus. We can't wait to see what excellence will come out of these new changes.
Jazz singer and songwriter Haley Lauren has been in front of audiences since she was 10, and with no formal vocal training turned professional age 14 just over a decade ago. Although Lauren now calls Eugene home, she does have some roots in the Corvallis area where she lived from the ages of 13 to 16 after first living in Alaska. She attended the first half of 10th grade at Corvallis High before her family moved to Eugene. But some of her first concert experiences were at the Majestic Theater. According to the Gazette-Times, since then she has won honors in many world songwriting competitions. She recently won for Best Vocal Jazz Album at the 2009 Just Plain Folks Music Awards. Her music has earned acclaim both in the US and abroad. After Dark, Lauren's latest album was recorded last summer and taken on board for national distribution by Burnside Distribution. Overall, the new album is a departure from her past jazz releases with a brighter sound and more of a world beat. Lauren is currently on tour until 2012, and lucky us will be stopping through Corvallis this week. The first show will be an in-store event at 7 p.m. tonight at Borders Bookstore. Tomorrow night, she and Matt Treater, who backs Lauren on keyboards and co-produced the album, will host a local CD release party at 7 p.m. at Enoteca Wine Bar.
Ever since his musical debut in 1975 in the Rocky Horror Picture Show, Meat Loaf has been around rocking audiences. Currently, he has been touring and performing tracks off his 11th and most recent record, Hang Cool Teddy Bear, which was released on May 11th of 2010 by Loud and Proud Records. According to Nancy Glass of Oregon Music News, the track that has been receiving the most airplay across the United States since the release is Los Angeluser, an unusually poppy tune. Locally, people got a chance to see him perform at Chinook Winds Casino, where he treated the audience to sounds of pounding guitars and heavy bass drums. Despite his new release, concertgoers only heard 3 songs off his new CD in the 2-hour set, with other well-known tunes making appearances throughout the night. Cashing in on his familiar songs, Meat Loaf also sang the title from Bat Out of Hell. In addition to Rock and Roll Dreams Come True, You Took the Words Right Out of My Mouth, I Would Do Anything for Love, and 2 out of 3 Ain't Bad. Meat Loaf closed the night with the song Paradise by the Dashboard Lights, and then surprised his audience with white t-shirts shot out of an air gun sold into the crowd. It looks like this rocker still knows how to put on a good show.
According to Ernest Yasmin of the News Tribune, Shane Lance, guitarist for Roman Holiday, says his crew is ready to take on the world. The band's great local interest and online following have led them to take on larger goals. And the journey will start at the Liberty Theater in Puyallup, Washington tonight, where Roman Holiday plans to pair up with their pal Ben Union, a Tacoma singer and songwriter. Roman Holiday will showcase new material tonight, including The Long Way Home, a song they recently released a video for. Local filmmaker Ron Walvant will be on site with 5 cameras to record concert footage for forthcoming DVD projects. Both acts plan to release footage from the concert online in the coming weeks, with full concert DVDs to follow. And Union promises you'll see them both like you've never seen them before.
One good thing about music, when it hits, you feel no pain. A line especially understood by Sweet Apple singer John Petkovic as he was pulled from the brink of self-destruction in 2007 by fellow bandmates Jay Mascis and Dave Sweetapple. Back then, Petkovic had just watched his mother succumb to bladder cancer, and he himself had begun to suffer from insomnia in the process. On top of that, an accident to his left hand left him unable to do what he loved most, play the guitar. All that changed when Petkovic got a call from Dave Sweetapple inviting him to his home in Vermont, where the two met up with Mascis, who suggested they all record an album together. In the span of 3 weeks, Petkovic wrote over 20 songs, many of them directly addressing the death of his mom and the subsequent tailspin he'd fallen into. Although created from tragedy, the resulting album, Love and Desperation, is full of strutting classic rock riffage. It features Petkovic on vocals, Sweetapple on bass, and guitarists Tim Parnan and Mascis on drums. According to Matthew Singer of Willamette Week, due to its members being spread out across the country, no one actually thought Sweetapple would become an actual touring band. Then it accepted a gig at last year's South by Southwest. With no practice, the band convened in Austin and gave their first show. Subsequent dates opening for Guided by Voices followed, as did its current tour supporting the rockers' Dead Meadow. Recently, audiences were able to experience Sweetapple at the Doug Fir alongside Dead Meadow this January. And although the band is successful now, for Petkovic, it's the loose, non-aspirational nature of the band that made it worth continuing on as something other than just an outlet for his own grief.
I'm thinking Cake, and I don't mean the kind with frosting. Cake, the alternative rock band from Sacramento, has released a new album this month, and it has been a while since their last album came out in 2004. According to Mike Bookie of the Source Weekly, this is the same Cake you're thinking of, the one that scored a handful of hits in the mid to late 90s and has survived on our conscience by way of inclusion in movies and television shows. But Cake has returned with what might be one of the band's strongest offerings, their 6th full-length album to date, titled Showroom of Compassion. While the 11 tracks on this album are unmistakably Cake, the band seems to have aged well. But Cake hasn't abandoned its often goofy jams, as frontman John McCrae's distinctively comic voice is as punchy as ever. Cake may have slipped to the back of some of our minds, but with a piece like the song titled Showroom, the band shows that they're not ready to be forgotten.
This year's Northwest Film Festival's Real Music Festival came to a close this past week, but not without the viewing of many excellent films, including one entitled Harmony: The Road to Carnegie Hall. In April 2009, U2 brought more than 90 musicians from 30 countries to Carnegie Hall to form the world's first collaborative online orchestra. The sellout performance under the director of San Francisco Symphony music director Michael Tilson Thomas was the culmination of an online edition that garnered more than 3,000 submissions from over 70 countries and territories on 6 continents. On the day of the Carnegie performance and the following day, the YouTube Symphony Orchestra channels received 6 million visits. According to Dot Rust of Oregon Music News, the documentary film chronicles the story of the formation of a YouTube symphony, the first of its kind formed via the internet, and culminating in a concert at the fabled Carnegie Hall in New York, as well as the musicians who participated in this historic event. The film follows several of the players from their selection, through their journeys from their homes around the world to New York, and through the maze of public relations sessions, language barriers, meet and greet events, rehearsals, and ultimately the performance on the great stage of Carnegie Hall. Conductor Michael Tilson Thomas explains that although classical music has been around for centuries as a tradition passed from teacher to student in a very direct and personal way, the internet offers the possibility to open up that circle so much wider. It's a perfect example of how new media can widen the exposure of something that used to be so limited, allowing others to get out there and get inspired. So don't be afraid to get out there and show your work.
Well, that's all the music news we have for you today. Be sure to stay tuned for more music videos and Locals Live.
See you next week.